And we are live. Welcome, good evening, good morning, good day, wherever you are in the world. And thank you once again for joining another Home in Italy live streaming session. So good to have you with us. My name is David Benton. Together with my wife, we've been doing this now over 15 years where we help people buy, restore and relocate to this incredible country, the country of Italy that I love so much. Hope everybody's doing well. Thank you so much, as I say, for joining us. Absolute pleasure to see people in already. And tonight we are doing the big, massive Q&A. I don't know who on earth comes up with these titles, but there you go. That's what we're doing. So this is where we throw the mic, so to speak, over to you guys. So hopefully you've got plenty of questions that you're going to ask tonight. If not, you're just going to sit and watch me drink water, which is not really going to be very exciting, is it? But there you go. So yeah, hopefully I can see a few more people coming in. Let us know whereabouts you are in the world. I know this is going out live streaming to Facebook and to YouTube, which is fantastic. Still no idea how this technology works, but hopefully everything's working okay. I can see chats coming through. Nobody on Facebook yet, but hopefully people will start coming through. So hopefully have your questions ready. Please don't ask any questions now, because this is the part of the show, if you want to call it a show, where people like to tell us where they are and all that kind of thing. So we don't want to muddle all the questions up. I'll let you know when to start putting questions through. I do have some questions that people have posted on Facebook and sent by email, so I will be trying to answer these as we go along. So just to let you know, in case some of these people are not watching now, some of these people are from Australia. So I've got Matt, William, either Alicia or Alice, Margie, John, Barry, Claire, Michael, Todd and Mary. I've got all your questions at hand, so I will be doing these as we go through. So as I say, please hold your questions off just now, and I will tell you when to do it. So a couple of things to let you know. Let me just have a quick look. Tony, if you could just wipe the things off for 1 second. So next week, next Thursday, we've got our Meet the Home Buyers, but it's a different one this year because we're doing a Meet the Home Buyers 1 year on. So this is going to be a great one. This is a couple that bought, a year ago, obviously, that's what it's called anyway. But yeah, they're going to tell us that what's been happening for the last year. So it's going to be absolutely fantastic, that one. That's with Lexi and Craig. Obviously, we'll recap their story. We'll show you the house that they chose. Since then, they got their elective visa residency to make sure they could come out here and live. And since then, Craig has also passed his driving test, and lots of other things have happened in the last year. So that's going to be fantastic. So make sure next Thursday you join into that one. I will send the links as usual. Then we have on the 23rd of February, one of my favorite ones, My Abruzzo. This is the one where I talk about My Abruzzo, why we chose this area, give you a few tips on some of the best places, in my opinion, to look for properties, how the property market works here and that kind of thing. So that's always a great one. So joining that on the 23rd. And then, can't believe we're into March almost as well. Unbelievable. Time is flying. My hair is getting grayer and grayer as we speak. Anyway, so yeah, in March, we're going to have some great subjects. We're going to have some new things. I'm going to be talking about my thoughts between the €1 properties and the cheap and cheerful properties, and let you know what I think you should do. We're going to have Mr. Grim Reaper himself, Gianluigi, the tax accountant, who's going to come here and just make our lives so miserable it's untrue by telling us how much tax that we have to pay if we come to Italy, if you decide to come to Italy. But there is some good news on that as well, and lots of other subjects. So just make sure that you stick with us every Thursday, and we'll make sure we bring you some great content. The other thing that I do want to share with you as well is we have now definitely booked the Home in Italy on the Road tour on the 4th and 5th of May. So what's that all about, I can hear you saying. So I'm going to turn this off so Tony can show us a few more where other people are in the world while I'm explaining what this is. So basically, a Home in Italy on the Road is where we take you around as a group of people. We take you around different areas. We take you around different properties to suit budgets and all that kind of thing. We meet up in Pescara. For people coming from the UK, we actually collect you from Pescara Airport, and we have a meeting place right next to the railway station at Pescara, where we'll give you some hints on which accommodation to choose and that kind of thing. So it actually starts on the 3rd of May, because we meet up in the afternoon and we have an aperitivo together. We'll let you know what's going to be happening over the coming days. We also have a little walk through Pescara and down by the coast and that kind of thing. Then on the 4th and 5th, we collect you in one of our buses and we take you, as I say, around to see lots of towns, villages. We're doing quite a lot around the Sulmona area, which is an absolutely incredible part of Abruzzo. It includes lunch, which is always a fantastic lunch, obviously, here in Italy. We've got some new things happening this time, some new experience, some real traditional stuff, and some wine tasting as well. So that's on the Thursday and the Friday. So you've got aperitivo on the Wednesday night. Then you have Thursday and Friday, where we take you around on our bus to different places, go and view properties. The great thing is you're with other people as well that's looking to do the same thing. So that's always good fun to meet other people as well. And then on the Saturday, then we take anybody that's going back to Pescara Airport, we take them back. That's people from the UK. Anybody that's not flying in from the UK, then obviously then you've got at the train station at Pescara, you can get to wherever you need to do, whether that's Rome or whatever it is. So yeah, that's going to be great. That's on the 4th and 5th of May. I am just currently doing the PDFs. We have just on people that's on our waiting list. We're pretty much half full already. So we will be doing another one. We're planning on doing another one in the autumn time because in summertime it's not much fun when it's a little bit too hot. So if you are interested in that, please email us at the address. Excuse me, the address that you're seeing at the bottom now, which is info@ahomeinitaly.com. Let me know if you're interested. I know a few people have already said that you're interested, and I will send you PDFs. If it's something that you think you would like, then let me know on that address. I will send you the PDF, and then obviously book your place. The price is $295 per person, but as I say, that includes food for 2 days, aperitivo on the Wednesday, or you're traveling once you're actually here, and a fantastic lunch as well, and wine tasting, and a few other little surprise things that's going to happen. So, and obviously you get to meet us as well. I come along, my wife, and also Tony, who does the moderating on this, will be there as well. So it's a great opportunity to meet all of us and pick our brains for the few days. So yeah, let us know if you're interested in that, and we will obviously put your name to one side and send you the PDF. Okay, guys, so we can start bringing the questions on now. So it may get a little bit complicated because usually we can have a moderating section to this and pull the questions to one side, the ones that we're going to answer, and sort of gradually send them through. But obviously, because everybody is, Tony's already putting them through now, look, because everybody is coming in from Facebook and YouTube and everything else, we will try and get round everybody. But when people put laughing faces or things like that, sometimes the questions can then disappear. But we will try and get round as many as we can. And also, I will get round the ones that have sent them by email as well. So Tony has kicked it off. Well, not Tony. SH, whoever that is, has kicked this off watching on YouTube. Hello, any advice about getting a mortgage as a foreigner? Does come up quite a lot. It is very difficult, very, very difficult. And unfortunately, there's not that I've found a number of people that are sort of mortgage advisors, but because it is so difficult and so time consuming, lots of these people are charging quite heavy fees just to look around and get that. There's no sort of guarantees that you will get it. It's difficult. It really is. The criteria before used to be a minimum of 100K, 20% deposit usually as a minimum, and the property obviously had to be habitable. You couldn't buy sort of a ruin or anything like that. But if you are relying on a mortgage, I'm going to say it's very, very difficult, unfortunately. Okay, so I'm going to ask it while people are... Oh, no, we've got another one coming through now. So Russ is saying that this is from YouTube. How do Italians feel about the influx of people from other countries buying properties in their towns? In my experience, Russ, they love us. I think the Italian people in general are so welcoming. And I'm going to say that about the whole of Italy. I would say more so sort of from mid-Italy heading south. But as I say, in general, Italians are great people. And I think some of the most welcoming people that I've ever met anywhere that I've been in the world. I would happily say that I'm married an Italian girl, as she was at the time, still is. And yeah, part of the attraction was the way people are. The way it's just a different way of looking at life. People they want to know. Some people think that they want to know your business. They don't. They want to know about you. They want to get to know you. And you meet. I have more, or we have more friends here in the 15 years that we've been here in than a lifetime anywhere else. So yeah, I would say it's not something that I would be concerned about. If you're thinking about moving here, it's something that I would definitely embrace, and especially in the smaller communities, especially in the village communities. I've obviously lots of experience in Abruzzo, so yeah, I would say don't worry about that kind of thing. Okay, while Tony is sifting through any other questions, I'm going to get one from Matt that sent this through to me, asking if Australians can buy property in Italy. This is a bit of a tough one because it's been something now, and there's a lot of conflicting information out there. And I actually spoke to my notary about this today as well, because in my experience, the answer is no. But in the past, we have Australian clients, and it's Australian clients that have become residents that wanted to become a resident here and qualify for residency, that can then go ahead and purchase a property. Now, I've not been told any different. I spoke to my notary, who agrees with me, but he is going to check with the governing body, if you like, just to get the exact ruling on it. But unfortunately, I've always known it that way, that if you've got Australian citizenship, that you're not able to buy a second home, a holiday home, but there could be a way to get, if you're getting residency. The reason for that is Italy works on a reciprocal agreement. So if an Italian can buy a property in your country, whichever country that is in the world, then you're free to buy a property in Italy. If an Italian can only buy a property if they're going to be resident, then the same rule will apply back. And unfortunately, this has now moved on to Canadians as well, because of the government in Canada has decided that no foreign people can buy there. That's the same that's happened now in Italy. Apparently, that's going to be for about 2 years, I understand. And also New Zealand. There are another few countries as well that, off the top of my head, I can't remember. But yeah, some of the big buyers from before, New Zealand, Australia, and Canada, there are restrictions. So you must double check that. If you do hold a passport from another country, maybe a European country or something like that, then you can buy. If one of you has the access to that, then if it's a married couple, then you will still be able to buy. But yeah, unfortunately, that is what's happened. Okay, Tony, you can start putting things through as and when you choose, and I will carry on doing some others from other people as we go there. Is getting a mortgage as an EU citizen easier? No, is the short answer. No, it's not at all, because if you haven't got any assets here and you haven't got any income here, it's very difficult now. With there's lots of information shared from one country to another. I'm not going to say it's impossible. It's very difficult. The best shot, I would say, is if there is an Italian bank where you are, then some of the bigger Italian banks that do have a presence in your country, then I would go and see them, rather than relying on brokers and things like that. There used to be loads of people saying that they could get you more, and there still is if you do a Google search. But what I found now is, because it is time consuming, I have found that people charge an absolute fortune, and I don't think the process takes such a long time, and I understand why they're charging, but to be charged quite a lot of money and then not get one in the end is not so great. So unfortunately, I am going to say it again, if you are looking at a mortgage, the best thing to do is to try and get those banks that's in your country. Okay, so let's have another quick one. So Carol, we've got typically, what is the amount of a down payment needed with the purchase and sale agreement, proposta di acquisto? Okay, so proposta di acquisto is the most basic of the contracts, if you like. You usually have a proposta di acquisto that comes from an estate agency. When I say it's basic in the sense of it doesn't have all the information that some of the other contracts have, but they're still legally binding. But they are the contracts that registered estate agents are allowed to draw up. They can legally draw up these legally binding contracts. So proposta di acquisto depends on the property price. So usually I would say, let's say 100K property, a proposta di acquisto can be 5K. It can be whatever you want, really. The idea is, if you really want this property, you don't want somebody else to have it, is to make sure that you put enough down that the owner's not going to sell to somebody else. So let's say it's a really hot property in a great location, just come on the market, loads of interest. And I know some people have this this strange idea that in Italy nobody sells anything, which is not true. You know, we've sold, not just us, a number of people sell properties within it, not before it even gets onto the website, and also with some of the videos we've been doing recently on YouTube. Thanks for the support, by the way. You know, you can sell them on the back of videos. It's absolutely unbelievable. I've lost my train of thought now where I was going with all of this, but I've completely lost my train of thought. What is happening to me now? What was the question again, Tony? You need to put this on. I feel such a fool now, and it's one of those. A neighbour of mine calls it a fizzler, where it sort of comes in and now it's just completely disappearing. And it was down payments. I knew that's what it was. That's so embarrassing. I need to remember, what minute is this so I can take this off the video? So what sort of down payment? I would say, yeah, property of 100k, proposta di acquisto of 5k. The idea is, as I was saying, to not let the owner change their mind, because they have to pay you double back. So if it's a hot property and you just put 1k down, they may get an offer for 105 and think, you know what, I'll give you your 1k plus another k because I'm getting another 3 from this person. So I would say 5 to 10% proposta di acquisto. And then if you go to the next one, which is like a compromesso or something like that, then you're looking more of a sort of 15, 20%, 25%, that kind of thing. Okay, I hope that answers your question. I'm going to go to one that I've been sent. So William, tax incentives for pensioners. Tax things are a bit of a subject for our Mr. Grim Reaper Gianluigi, who's going to be coming in next month. But I will say a good one is, if you qualify for the elective visa resident and come here as a pensioner, you have to be a pensioner to qualify for that, then you will pay 7% on your worldwide income. So whatever you get from anywhere in the world, doesn't matter how much money you're making, wherever you are in the world, you'll pay 7%. For 10 years. So that is a great one. If you didn't need another reason to move to Italy, then that would be one. So I would say that's the main perk, if you like, the main thing for people retiring to Italy. Okay, so we've got Kim, who is on Facebook, saying, do you need a visa or Italian passport if you are buying a holiday home? No, you don't. Again, as long as you are in a country where Italians are allowed to buy property, you do not need to have a visa or a passport. The only thing you need, as far as visa is concerned, is to have bought the property, to be in the country. When you come to sign for it, they do now ask that you provide proof that you've got a visa to stay, but that can just be a stamp on your passport. The idea behind that is you've not just sort of been smuggled into the country and then want to buy a property. So that's you haven't got to apply for a visa or anything like that. And you certainly don't need an Italian passport. So as long as you're living in a country that has a reciprocal agreement with Italy, you can buy. The only visa that you have to show now, and this is a new rule that's only not come in recently, is just the cross-border one, something, the stamp that you get at the airport, all that kind of thing. Okay, so Kristin, who is on Facebook, any advice regarding how to check for earthquake stability of a property, maps and records? Okay, let's put this. I know this is, I mean, it's a horrible subject at the minute, isn't it, with everything that's happened in Turkey. There's obviously there's lots of people asking questions about things like that. There needs to be some sort of discussion, and I think this would be a good one for another evening, not just to talk purely about earthquakes, but to bring it up. There's no obviously you can check what zone you're in. You can check to see what you need to know, what you need to understand is Italy is seismic. The only part of Sicily that is not seismic, there's only one part of Sicily that's not seismic, and that's Sardinia. Some people think Puglia, and that is not true, because there's just one place, and that is Sardinia. Within the rest of Italy, obviously, people are graded from the dangers if such a rare thing should occur. Now, I live in red zone, and I chose to live close to mountains, and when you have mountains, you have earthquakes. I've lived here for a number of years, been coming here for many years. Yes, I've felt a couple, not sort of directly under me, thankfully. there's houses and churches and castles in the area that have lasted hundreds and hundreds and some of them thousands of years. So I look at risk such as that in a different way, because they are rare events. It's just unfortunate when something like this happened, that's happened recently, which is shocking, that people do start asking about things like that again. It's a tough one because, you know, when you see these zones and the way they're worked, there's always a line that says, okay, this is where the red line finishes, and then it goes to yellow zone. So you think, okay, well, I'm going to buy in yellow zone. So your neighbour's in red, I'm in yellow. So that means then that if an earthquake happens, his house is going to fall down, mine isn't. It doesn't work like that. You know, so you do have to understand that the Italy is seismic. That's the way it is. Like many other countries are in the world, the level of risk is low because they are very rare events, in the sense of rare events, the ones that do the kind of damage that's happened in Turkey. You can look at maps and things like that, but if you're really going to restrict yourself down, that's no guarantee that, you know, some people say I live by the coast because there's nothing, that's white zone. It doesn't always work like that, because sometimes by the coast they feel and get damaged from ones that's maybe been in the sea, or on the west coast of Italy. If one happens in Croatia, then the people on the coast, you know, feel it and sometimes have the damage. Maybe not the damage if you were in the epicenter, obviously. But yeah, you can ask, you can check things like that if it's something that really bothers you, which I will admit in the beginning I was worried. I'd never felt one before, and I was concerned about something like that until we made the decision to move, and then until I started living here, and I don't think about it again. That may be ignorant of me to say that, because obviously if something did happen, then you know, that's terrible. But without sounding too bad towards what's just happened recently, you have far more of a chance of being run over or being in a car accident or things like that. So yes, you can check things. The way you look at it, you need to get it into find a way in your head that you can live with things, because you can't just say, love this place, that's red zone, and 1 kilometre is white zone, so I'm going to be all right there, because it doesn't work like that. But as I say, they are rare events, and hopefully it will never happen to anybody that's watching us. And sorry to all those people who are affected in Turkey. That's shocking. Okay, so Carol on YouTube. Since the exchange rate at this time is currently favourable for dollars to euros, is it a good idea to place at least the above amount of funds in an Italian bank account? I had a codice fiscale. Yeah, I mean, the problem is now with Italian bank accounts, we used to be able to open them over the internet, isn't it? As near as damn it, you could say. But now there's been a lot of restrictions where you can only open them once you're actually here. So if you're here, we can take you to the bank and we can open an account for you. What I would say is watch the webinar that we did 2 weeks ago, or the live stream 2 weeks ago, that is still listed on YouTube. There on the, if you look on the live stream section, you can see every one that we do. See the one that we did about currency exchange with David Nixon from Currencies Direct, our contact there, or email me at info@homeinitaly.com and I will give you all his details. And I would say, while it's good, if you're definitely going to do this, they have products where you can actually block a rate and you only have to give them 10% to block that rate. So you can order, for instance, 100K. If the exchange rate's brilliant now, then you could ring this guy up and say, okay, exchange rate's great. I want to buy 100K's worth of dollars or whichever currency it is, but I don't need it while September. So you can actually do it for 2 years, if I remember rightly, up to 2 years. You can do the deal. They will ask for a 10% deposit, and the money stays in your bank until the deal's up there. At least you can get a little bit of the tiny little bit of interest that people give now. You can maybe get that, but at least you're not sort of thinking about opening a bank account straight away. Now you're not thinking about money being in another country, which is safe here. But I don't know. I think the kind of products that these people are offering, I'd use somebody else's money every day of the week rather than my own. But that may just be the Yorkshireman in me. But there you go. So yeah, if you want some more information on that, email me at info@homeinitaly, which is the address that's going along the bottom of the screen, and just mention the question, and obviously I will send you David's details and have a chat with him, because it's I would definitely do that and use his products. Okay, so I'm just going to do one of mine, Tony, before you pop yours up. So Margie asked me, having an Italian passport, does that speed up the purchase? Again, short answer, no, it doesn't. It doesn't change anything what passport you have. Some people do think that because I'm going to also answer John's question at the same time. Does having citizenship mean that it's cheaper for the tax purchase? Both of these things don't bear any relevance. It doesn't matter where your passport, where your passport is. It doesn't matter if you're a citizen. What does matter as far as the taxes are concerned is if you become resident. So it doesn't matter if you're an Italian citizen, it matters if you're a resident. So if an Italian is buying a property, maybe let's say they're outside of Italy, they've got Italian citizenship, they want to buy a property in Italy. If they don't become resident, or if any of you don't become residents within 18 months and declare it at the time of the signing, then you still pay the second home tax. You don't pay, just because you're an Italian citizen, it means nothing. It's all about residency. And the reason for that is in Italy, if you have your prima casa, your first house, the house where you live, then you pay less taxes when you purchase your property, and you don't pay any taxes to the council through the year, the sort of council taxes. You only pay sort of refuge collection. But then if you buy another property, that's classed as your second home. And class obviously as a luxury, somebody that can afford to have a second home, and you're taxed accordingly. So it doesn't matter. You can't just say, well, I'm Italian, why should I be taxed the same as a Brit or an American or a Canadian, whatever. It doesn't work like that. Because it's a second property, you will pay the same taxes. So having an Italian passport or having Italian citizenship does not speed anything up, doesn't make anything any easier at all, unless you come from one of those countries that can't buy a property here or without becoming resident, and it doesn't make anything cheaper on taxes. So that's Margie and John's done together. Tony, if you want to pop the next one up. Russ, will you be able to help us find materials and contractors to renovate a property? Yes, depending where you are. If you're in Abruzzo, then yes, it's part of our services that we do, where we help people restore properties and that kind of thing with no problem. Depending on how far you are away from us, depends on the level of service, but we can always help out with sort of advice if you just want to find, I don't know, a supplier for certain things, no problem. Okay, so let's get the next one up. So this is Glenda, and she is on Facebook. My question is it better to apply for residency in Italy or in France, where we also own a home? As far as taxes are concerned, we are US citizens. So as far as tax, as I said, sort of on the answer to the last one, as far as taxes are concerned, it's all to do with residency. So if you're planning on becoming a resident of Italy, then you will pay 2% tax or purchase tax instead of 9%. Now that is not on the price that you pay for the property. That is what we call the taxable value in English. I can't remember the name of it in Italian now, but it's the taxable value, which can be a lot less. So to give you an idea, we did a signing very recently. It was 120k the property, and it had a taxable value of just 40. And your taxes, your 2% if you're becoming resident or 9% as non-resident, are based on that 40, not on the 120. So that's as far as taxes, it's only about residency. So if you're thinking that you could buy a property in France, for instance, and that's going to get you cheaper taxes in Italy because it's part of the EU, doesn't work like that. And I presume, I don't know, I presume it will work the same in France as well if you did it vice versa. I don't think anybody will give you discounts for that. It's only if you're becoming a resident. Okay, so hopefully that answers that one. We have Joy. Hi, Joy. On Facebook, is there a UK-Italy tax advisor you could recommend in order to plan tax implications for Italian residency? Yes, definitely. He will be joining us next month, and if you don't want to wait until then please contact me. Again, the email address below, info@homeinitaly.com, and I will pass on his details with no problem whatsoever, and he will give you some great advice. Brilliant tax advisor, and his English is absolutely superb. So, and that's one of the reasons why I use him personally, but also for a Home in Italy clients, I pass him on because his level of English is excellent. Okay, before Tony puts one on, I'm going to answer Barry's question, which was, do you need planning permission for a swimming pool? Yes, is the short answer for that one. You do need planning permission for a swimming pool, and you do need to check that you can actually have a swimming pool, because in certain zones you won't be allowed to have a swimming pool. People can and do register them as something else, as glorified water holes and that kind of thing. But there's only certain zones that you're allowed to, and that's all to do with whether or not you're in an area that could potentially suffer from things like landslides if there was a huge amount of water in there. Because what quite rightly people will say is, you can't have one here because the size of a swimming pool, all that water, if there was a problem and the water came out onto the ground, is that going to cause damage to the ground and make it unstable? So do not presume, because it does happen a lot. And I've been with people when they've said, I've been with an agent and this is the house I'm interested in, I want you to help me go through the process. They've told me I can have a swimming pool because I've got enough ground for it. Having enough ground for it has got nothing to do with it whatsoever. It's all to do with, does the region allow you to have it? Is there any restrictions on that, like there was in Puglia not so long ago, where they put a halt on it? I don't know if it's still the same now. Does the region allow it? Does the council allow it? What zone are you in? You need to check all these things. So people that just, if a swimming pool is really important to you, then my advice is always to get the advice from a geometer, which people that are joining these regular do know how much I think geometers are worth their weight in gold. And they will check the documents, check the zone, check with the council the type of land that the property is on. You haven't got to worry then, oh my God, I can't have a swimming pool, that means I live in a dangerous property. That's not what they're saying. What they're saying is, if the water leaked out of the pool, could it potentially do something bad to that land? That's how it works. So do not presume. And just because next door's got one, if you're slightly in a different zone, look at it where I am. I'm in a white zone. I'm in a red zone for certain things, but I'm in a white zone for when it comes to things like that. But my neighbor that's 50 meters from me is in yellow zone, and they have to go through a lot more paperwork if they want to have a swimming pool and potentially couldn't have one. And then you can have somebody in a red zone, that people that definitely can't have one. There are workarounds, but it can't officially be a swimming pool. So, and I'm not going to say anything on here that's not official. Okay, Tony, do you want to put another one through? We have Jamie. Hi, Jamie. She's coming to see us very soon on YouTube. I love that picture of your dog. If we buy a property needing renovation, do you have properties for rent that we could rent while renovating? Again, yes, depending where you are. There's a few sort of people that's already bought properties that are wanting to rent theirs out. So I'm going to say yes. And if not, then we can try and find rentals are actually a little bit of a nightmare, because there doesn't seem to be anybody around that's doing, not just in this area, in lots of areas, that sort of do the short term, not sort of 2 nights, 3 nights a week, the month and the 2 months. They're quite difficult to sort of get. But I'm going to say yes to that. And if I don't have anybody or any availability from clients, then obviously I can always ask around and help you find something. Okay, so we've got Herr Fritz on YouTube. Dave, we are looking for a 1/2 bed property with outdoor space for under 40k. We are engineers, surveyors, so we would take on a restoration. Is this something you could assist us with? Yes, absolutely. Tony, you can leave the questions up a little bit long if you like, because there's part of the questions in that I forget. The thing to remember with people that's coming with certain budgets, and I hate to talk about budgets, because even if somebody's buying a house for 20k, it's still a lot of money. The thing to remember is that the cheaper properties, unfortunately, have the highest percentage of taxes and fees and all that kind of thing, because there's lots of minimums. So the first thing you need to do is double check or let us know if the 40k is total price and that kind of thing. Obviously, emails us at the info@homeanditaly.com and give us sort of the full story if that's the absolute maximum with everything. And the only other thing to let you know is, I understand you're engineers and surveyors there, so you take on the restoration, which is great, but you will be limited here to what you can and can't do. If that doesn't bother you and you're willing to work with an engineer or a surveyor here, or a geometer as we call them, then that's fine. But it's very difficult for you to come and do the kind of work that you do in the country that you are, unless you're going to become a resident here and some of your qualifications can be moved over to the Italian thing, then that potentially could be a different thing. But yes, I certainly can help. Please give us an email at an info at. I don't know if you've already done that, because I've seen an email today that's similar questions to those. So if that is you, then I think I respond a little bit earlier. But if not, send me an email, and of course I will be more than happy to help. Before Tony puts another one up, and I wanted to actually bring him in tonight, just so everybody, because a lot of people say, who's Tony? So he's the guy in the background, and I can see him on my little camera on my screen. Before, he used to just be in the dark for everybody. And if you see that, for a start, he's drinking wine, I can tell. And you just see his arms sort of flapping around like this, just to sort of put me off, because that is the signal that something's wrong. But anyway, before Tony puts the next one up, Claire has said, can we restore our own property? So this potentially is a good question for the last people as well. And do we need special permission? So lots of people do this, buy properties and want to work on it themselves. The short answer is yes, you can, but there are certain things you can't do. And I think that's the same in lots of countries. So you can't do gas, you can't do electrics. There's certain parts of plumbing that you would need a plumber to do. You can't do anything structural. So the roof and breaking down structural walls and all that kind of thing. I would like to think that you wouldn't want to do that. Do you need permission? Yes, 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 and yes, and yes again, and yes again. You will get lots of people, and it always happens on favorite social media, which I'm not going to pull down because I am live streaming on social media, so I can't say too much. But they will say, yes, just do it, anything. You can do whatever you like. It's your house. So is it legal? You'd only find that out when you come to sell, because if nobody knows about it, and then when you come to sell and the documents are different, and you say to a surveyor or a geometer, this is how I bought the house, that I've changed it now, which will all come up before you go to the notary's office, and the geometer says, okay, what have you done? Let me see what you've done. If you've just changed the tiles, and that's fine. But let's say you've put an extra bathroom in, or you've done something like that, then the geometer will say, did you do it? Did you get any permission to do it? No, we didn't. And then that's when the problem starts. It can still be resolved in most cases, but you pay fines. You still have to go through everything you would have gone through in the first time, but you'll pay a lot more fines, and you'll be really stressed because you want to sell your house. And the person that's buying it from you will say, so you did all this work without any permission. They'll put it on Facebook, should I buy this property? And then you'll lose your sale. Not only that, not only do you face the fines and everything else, but you've actually missed out on a discount that you could have got if you would have just gone to a geometer in the first place. So I have a client who, in fact, they came onto a webinar recently with us, that was going to have a full project and get everybody to sort of builders and everybody in, but they've decided to do a lot of work themselves. But they're doing it the right way with a geometer who's actually explaining to the council the work that's going to be done. It's all going to be put on a list. Everything's going to be done. They're going to do the work themselves because it's non-structural and that kind of thing. And if it gets to the point where it is structural, then the planning will slightly change and the geometer will let the council know. And at least at the end of everything, you're coming away with the documents that should be there. But more importantly, the geometer will actually issue with a certificate where you can get lots of things with a less amount on VAT. So your VAT goes down from 22 down to 10% on lots of things, and that's because you're doing it properly. And the Italian government saying you're doing it properly, so we will give you this incentive to do it. Not only that, if you're there smashing away and smashing tiles away and all the rest of it and creating rubble, maybe you're just putting it in your garden, something like that. People will notice that. And the Carabinieri are the ones that will check that, and they will see, because the Carabinieri and the Forestale, people like that, they're all part of the same thing now. They will pass by your house. They will see that pile of rubble. You may think, I'm going to put that pile of rubble to one side because I'll use that later as the foundations for my terrace. Lots of people may think like that. But what happens? They've noticed that pile of rubble. They will take a photograph of that. They will do a report that they passed by your property and this is what was there. 3 months later or a year later, you decide to use that rubble on your terrace, and they think, okay, where's that rubble gone? Now, that's when you can have problems. Because again, if you're doing things properly, things like that will be taken away by somebody who's registered to do it and put it in the right places. If not, they will just presume that you've dumped it off. You could be heavily fined, especially if you live closer to national parks, because they could just presume that, you know, you've dumped it off wherever. And if you say, no, I didn't dump it off, it's under my terrace, then you can see the kind of problems. So in short, Claire, yes, you can restore it, but don't do things and don't just think, oh, I'm doing it, so I don't need any permission. It's not true, because you need to get rid of the waste. If it's a small job, then obviously you're doing some painting, maybe you're changing a few tiles under your kitchen sink. But if you're doing a fairly decent size job, do it through a geometer, because you will get that incentive. You've got the insurance there that if Mr. Carabinieri comes knocking on your door, and believe me, it does happen. Too many times I've seen it happen. And they come knocking on your door, you say, no, I've got permission to do it. Because what happens is the Carabinieri come past, they hear all the banging, everything else. They'll go to the council, they'll find out everything before they knock on your door. Is there any permission for any work that's going off in this house that I can see loads of smoke coming out of, and there's 3 guys there and all the rest of it? Excuse me. They will go to the council. If the council say, we have nothing, then you're in lots of trouble, because they will only then come back once they've got all the evidence they need to fine you big style. So yes, you can do it, but get the advice. If you're unsure, contact us, info@homeanditaly.com. Doesn't cost you anything to ask. I've not started charging for asking questions by email just yet. Okay, Tony's put another one. I'm just going to have a drink because I'm talking quite a lot. Okay, so this is coming from YouTube. Is there a bad time of year to look for properties from a variety of properties or high-low price aspect? Is there a bad time of year? No, I'm saying no. Probably summer. Summer it's not fun looking at properties during summertime when it's absolutely boiling. If I was going to say, always avoid holidays. So Easter's huge here. People here like their holidays, especially religious holidays and that kind of thing. So again, there's lots of people that think, oh, I'll go whenever I want because people are desperate for money and they'll show me around and all the rest. It doesn't work like that. Don't come sort of Easter and ask to see properties on Good Friday or Easter Monday. So forget about that. Forget about August, because August is hot, it's very busy, and August is a huge holiday time. So even though it's a good time to come in the sense of it, you know, it's nice and buzzy and lots of festas and all the rest of it, the actual reality is you won't see many. But I would say come anytime. To be honest with you, now is a great time, because if you want to see something at its worst, and I say that sort of tongue in cheek, if you like, because it's never bad. But now is a good time because, you can see it, the quietest time of year and where potentially the worst weather's going to be. And then if you like it that time of year, it will only ever get better. The best time, I would say, is between March and June. Best time. So it's just absolutely incredible at springtime. Okay, so Tony, are you putting another one up, or are these things slowing up? Okay. Tracy, this is on YouTube. Which is more cost effective, buying a house that needs renovating or property that's suitable for moving straight in? Great question, Tracy. And this, I'm sort of slightly going to get out of this one because you're sort of stealing my idea of another future Thursday evening. But I will answer in part, because I'm also going to do the €1 properties and my advice on that. It really is down to yourself and what you can live with. When we bought this property, we were looking for something that potentially we could move into, even though it was basic, and then do things up over time. So we did do things over time, but what we were thinking the day we bought it and thought that we could move in even at a basic level, we must have had too many wines that day, because we were obviously on a high, bought the property, absolutely thrilled to bits that we got a place in Italy. We thought we'll just clean it up next time we come out. And all. When we came back, sort of 2 months later, we were like, oh, what? How? Where? How are we going to move in here? So it depends on your level of what you can cope with. I would say if you're quite happy to move into basic things, then yes, I would always try and find something that is reasonably habitable. Purely because obviously the cost of restoring properties at the minute is quite high with everything that's happening in the world. I'm not going to go into that. And everything else, it is quite high. So I would say go reasonably habitable, as long as it's not expensive habitable, unless it's absolutely perfect for you. What I mean by that is there's no point, obviously, paying that top price and it's just not quite right, because you may as well go for something that's less and do it up. Having said all of that, I loved restoring this place, absolutely loved it. And we got exactly what we wanted. And somebody asked me the other day, would I do it again? And I said, definitely, 100% definitely. So if I was looking for a holiday home, I would probably, but you see, I know the system and know everything else. So maybe that's me just being like that. But I think at the minute, there's some great deals around for pretty good habitable properties. So I would say if it's the right price, then go for that. But I will do another webinar that or live stream, should I say, to say where my limits are of what I would buy that's reasonably habitable. So sorry to only half answer your question, but I don't want to spoil my new my new session. Okay, so another question from YouTube. This is Milika, I think it is. Are there still benefits for energy renovation of old houses by the Italian government? Okay, so we're probably talking about the 110%, the famous 110. So this was put in round about COVID time by the Italian government, and it's been absolutely incredible. It's kept the Italian economy going for the last since COVID and that kind of thing. It's also been the slight ruin for some people trying to get builders, and also because governments are paying out, all of a sudden prices seem to go up. The 110 basically was an incentive for people to make their properties more energy efficient. And the idea was, if you got under certain criteria, they would come out to your house and they'd say, okay, if we can we will change your roof, we will put insulation on the outside, we will change the windows, we will change the boilers. They'd have all these things that they need to do. They wouldn't come out to do one thing. They have to see as many things as they can to make your energy rating go up two letters. So if you're currently a G, then it has to take it to a minimum of an E. I'm sure it's two to do that. And the Italian government, once you got somebody out and they said, yes, we can do that, they would put the application in, do everything else, and the Italian government would pay for everything. And there was no catch. And the extra 10% was then to pay for all your costs and that kind of thing. So your geometry costs, or your architect, or whoever's doing it, and any other costs associated. So it has been amazing, because once people knew that they got the 110, people would actually buy that from them. So a bank would say, okay, you've been given that, we will supply the money. Or some companies some of the bigger building companies would soak that in, and they would save on the taxes and all the rest of it. So it has been amazing. It's not been easy to get. And even though they said it was open to everybody, in my experience, it wasn't open to everybody. Now it's coming towards an end, later this year, and it's going to be replaced by the 90%, which is still amazing. There's a lot less people doing it because some of the payouts stopped and things like that, as you can imagine. And things can change quite quickly. So there was a lot of skepticism at the beginning. And then when people saw it was happening, everybody wanted to jump on board. You usually find the builders went for the huge apartment blocks and all the rest of it, as they would do. So it's been a fantastic incentive. Will you get it as a foreigner, so to speak? Not so easy, in my opinion. I've not spoken to anybody who's successfully done it. If you're relying on it, don't rely on it. But it would be nice to think that maybe you could. But having said all of that, there's still lots of incentives where you can get between 40 to 60% off. And this is another fantastic thing that is called sconto in fattura, which basically means discount in the invoice. So you go to certain places, and again, not everybody's doing it, because sometimes the money can be slow to come back to them. So smaller businesses don't like it, or sometimes they don't get the money back. It comes through their taxes. And people don't always like that either. But basically, if you're looking for a new boiler, new windows, anything like that, then you find the people that's doing these incentives, and they will take this 40, 50, 60% off, which is superb. What you've got to remember is, if, let's say, quick example, A client of ours bought a stoofer recently, a heating system that should have been 4.5. No, it wasn't. Sorry, should have been 8, but around about 8,000. They got the 50% the discount scheme, which means that then they got it. Well, they actually got it for just less than 4K, which is obviously an amazing saving. If they would have gone to that place and actually bought one sort of out of the showroom, it would have cost them 5,000 something, because when they do this discount, they do it off the top price. You can't sort of go in there, negotiate them down from the retail price, if you like, negotiate it down as much as you can, and then say, oh, and I want the 50% off as well, because they don't do that. They do it on the retail price, but you still make huge savings. This person made 1,500 saving. So I would say put your time, time and effort into finding those people rather than trying to get the 90%. Because it's very difficult, and you may find you won't get it at all. And you can't do things like, if you like to reveal stone and things like that, it has to be things that's not classed as making something energy efficient. So all of a sudden, your old stone cottage or whatever it is will have plastered walls and everything else. So yeah, I would say concentrate on the other things. Okay. We've got Milika again, I hope I'm pronouncing it right, on YouTube. Are geometers always independent, expert, or part of big companies? They're usually independent people. You do get geometers in councils, and you do get big sort of building companies with their own geometers and that kind of thing. But a geometer is a profession, and you usually try and find a local geometer to where you're interested in buying. There's loads of them. They're all over the place. I know it's difficult to sort of think, but how do I find one if they speak Italian? Again, we can help. We have services for all over Italy to help people sort of communicate with the geometer and that kind of thing. So that's part of what we do. So do get in touch about that. If you are looking to buy here in Abruzzo, then and within a reasonable local area to where we are, we cover quite a wide range, then we have a fantastic geometer who we work with. So yeah, we can give you advice on that with no problem at all, but they are usually independent and absolutely worth their weight in gold. Okay, Tony, any others coming through? Oh, here we go. So we've got another 5 minutes of this. So we've got YouTube. Teresa, what would a normal percent of a negotiated amount of an asking price as an offer to an owner in the Abruzzo area? Okay, so great question, Teresa, and one that starts off lots of arguments, usually on certain social media things. I'm going to have a little drink before I answer this one. If you put that same question on social media, you're going to get all the armchair experts shouting at you and saying, I put an offer in for 80% off the asking price and I got the house. You're going to get all of those, because they want you to know that they're amazing at negotiating and all the rest of it. You're going to get the ones that say Italy's on its knees, everybody needs money, they're giving properties away, blah, 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 blah. I hear it all the time. And to be honest with you, when I hear it, I just want to just turn that person's volume down and don't even bother taking them to see anything, because that is not how it works here. If somebody did get 50, 60, 70% off, then come on, let's be honest, it was probably never worth that in the first place. It was either well inflated, whether that's by the owner or whether that's by the agent. You should have good enough relationships with people to say, when people come with me and they're sort of buying direct from the owners and things like that, they say, first of all, what do you think of the price? I will give my honest opinion on the price. If I think it's a great price, I will say it's a great price. Obviously, you try and get a little bit off. I would say the vast majority that I've been involved in for all the time I've been here, the vast majority between 10 and 15%. But, try. If you're coming here thinking, I'm going to view properties at 100, but I've only got a budget of 50, then stay at home. Because you're either going to meet some dodgy people that are asking for 100K for a property that's worth nothing, or you're going to be really disappointed. So you don't want to offend anybody. You have the conversation with the person that's showing you the properties. Have a proper conversation with them, and then if you want to try a little offer, then do that. But there's no hard and fast rule. But yeah, I mean, if something's on at 100, you might try 80, but expect sort of closer to 90. if somebody's saying 100 and you say 70, I think the great thing about Italians is negotiation doesn't usually last very long. In the UK, I don't know about the countries where you're from, but in the UK, we fight for the last €5 or the £5. No, I want 3999.97. No, it's going to be 3. Here, it doesn't work like that. Usually, people will say, no, I won't accept that, but what I will accept is this. And it's usually quite quite straightforward. Okay, guys, we're getting close to the end, so we'll just have another couple of questions. And we've already done the 110. That was Todd's question. Mary's asking why I chose Abruzzo, because he's amazing, but I'm going to tell you all about that on when we do our Thursday session in 2 weeks' time. Tony, any other questions coming through? I can see your head, so if you want to shake or nod or here we go. Okay, so Kim is saying, assuming a property has deed, etc. in order, how long does the sales process take from the time of proposta di acquisto to settlement? Another great question. And I would say, Kim, the quickest I've done one is 7 days, which some people say, no, impossible. It's not impossible. It's certainly possible. I always say allow up to 3 months. It always depends. I mean, you're saying there that everything's correct. You're saying if all the title deeds and everything are all correct, then it can be as quick as you want it to be. Because if everything is correct and there's nothing needs changing and all the documents are being updated and everything is how it should be, you can literally book the notary's office and say, well, let's do it. And it's the time it takes for the notary to sort of have free time in the calendar. Sometimes waiting for you to get your tax codes or maybe get your money sorted out and sent to a currency exchange or whatever it is you're doing can be longer than the actual process. So yeah, it can be quick. If there's problems, most problems can be sorted out within a few months. I did notice one of my, I hate calling people clients because they're friends more than anything, I noticed his name earlier, so I'm going to be careful what I say now because he's on to about month sort of 5 or something like that, because there was lots of work that needed to be done on documents. The longest I've had is 2 years. That was an absolute nightmare, but not because of bureaucracy, because of battling families. And a passion that these people had to buy the house, and they just stuck with it. The quickest was a week. So anything between a week and 2 years. I would usually say up to 3 months, but if everything is in order, as quick as you like. Okay, Tony, one more, and then we'll move on. I will move on in this direction out of my office. Michaela is saying, is it possible to build a tiny house on a land with a ruin? If there is a registered ruin on a piece of land, then yes, you could use the footprint of that. If you want to make it smaller, you can usually make it smaller. In some places, you can actually increase the volume, but you have to check at your local council. If you buy a piece of land, don't automatically think that you can build on it, no matter what anybody tells you, because there could be a number of restrictions, including distance from borders, distance from roads, lots of other things. And there could still be restrictions even if it's building land. So again, a geometer is a great person to check. Okay, guys. So, thank you so much. Great, really great number of people, which is absolutely superb. Thank you so much for joining us. I do hope you enjoyed that. I hope we managed to answer as many questions. There's probably still more questions, but I will do another Q&A session. I'm thinking about doing another one with a few experts in here as well, such as the tax guy and people like that. So we'll probably do that on the next big, massive Q&A session, as we call it. So thank you so much for joining us. I really appreciate your support. A great amount today. Thank you for backing the YouTube channel as much as you do, and the Facebook channel. I cannot stress how much I appreciate the business that's coming out our way and everything else. I really do appreciate all of your support, so thank you. And I will keep these going as long as you guys are watching. I will keep going and keep growing on this as much as possible. Okay, so on that note, we will see you next week. Remember, next Thursday we're doing the Meet the Home Buyers 1 year on. That is going to be a great one, so don't miss that. Have a great evening, everybody, and thank you so much again.